All right, everybody, welcome to the second town hall BSB experience. The last one that we ran was just an absolute blessing to have Skip and Jelly on there. A lot of people just reached out and they just couldn't believe how humble those guys were, and the insight that they offered into Big Sky Bravery and their career in special operations. So, as we said, everyone's doing this whole remote video stuff right now due to what's going on, and it gives all of our viewers also an insight to what Big Sky Bravery is all about, and just the overall impact that the mission had on you guys. So just to start it off, we've got Brandon with the Big Sky Bravery shirt right there, and then Kyle with the Big Sky Bravery hat. Brandon was part of Task Force 16 actually in 2018, and then Kyle recently completed Task Force 30, which is in January of this year. So yeah, guys, let's just start it off. Everyone knows Bryce Mahoney. Bryce, why don't you just kind of describe your role with Big Sky Bravery, and then we'll let Brandon and Kyle introduce themselves, and then we'll get started with some questions.
Cool. Thanks, Josh. Bryce, been a volunteer with Big Sky Bravery for the last 3 years. Started out as just a volunteer, and now I've moved in kind of helping with programs. And I had Brandon on one of my programs, and just as always, it was, as we put it, we had a decent time. BSB is really close to my heart, and I'm just thankful for these guys to be able to share their experiences today. So thank you so much.
All right. So Brandon, why don't you just kick it off with kind of just your basic background, and then we'll let Kyle do the same, and then we'll get started with the questions.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm Brandon. I joined the military November of 2003 as a special tactics operator, combat controller. Spent about a year and a half at the 21st STS, and then put my package up to the 24th STS. Luckily got picked up, made it through selection, and I've been there since 2006.
Kyle.
Yep. So I actually joined the military the same day as Brandon. We ended up went through basic training together. After that, I spent 2 years in Washington State, and then I got to the 24th in 2008. So a couple of years later, but I've been here since then.
Nice. Well, thank you guys for the background. So we encourage everyone who's watching this on live stream right now, like Karen Arnold, tons of respect for Skip and Jelly. Absolutely. Submit your questions through this. We have some questions that people have already submitted, but we encourage interaction. This is a very rare opportunity for a lot of us that are civilians to interact with members of the special operations community. These two combined, they'll probably go through it in a little bit with years of experience, but just reach out. If we can answer it, we will. And yeah, let's get started. So Brandon, you first, and then Kyle right after. How many years have you guys been serving, and how many deployments have each of you done, if you're allowed to say?
So November of this year will be 17 years. And within those 17 years, I've got 13 combat deployments, I believe.
Yeah, same. This November will be 17 years for me. I've done 8 combat deployments.
Nice. Well, it's good to see your lovely faces, and you're safe for now, and that's great.
And that's like, just to put it into context a little bit more, like I love the smile, the way that you guys are looking right now when you talk about these deployments and stuff, because you truly know, like, we know that how long a deployment is, the time frame overseas, all of the different types of places that you all go. It's not out of the country and back, the time spent, the time that you're home, that you don't even get to decompress because you're already in that spun up cycle again. And it's people forget how long an actual deployment can be for the special operations community, especially.
Yeah, that's a really good point too, that you talk about those deployments, but they're spread out over a lot of years. There's a couple years when we were together on the same team when we were doing 2 or 3 deployments in a year, and then with a 1-to-1 dwell cycle. So we were home just as much as we were gone, and when we were home, we were still working. So there was a pretty good couple of years that we were really busy,
I would say.
All right. Let's start with Kyle first, and then Brandon, go for it second. What made you join?
Yeah, so I was still in high school, at 9/11, and that was a big thing for me. So as soon as I graduated high school, I joined the Air Force right away, and then I had to wait until November to get in, because back then the combat control positions were few and far between. So I had to wait 9 months or so to get in.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat. Initially, after high school, I knew for a long period of time, like since I was a kid, that I wanted to be in the military. But after high school, my parents really pushed me to go to college. So I did college for a couple of years, and I was like, hey, man, this isn't for me. And then I signed up, and I was in college whenever 9/11 went down. And I was like, hey, the school thing ain't for me. I need to join the military and, do what God put me on this earth to do. So.
Oh yeah, man.
I want to start with you, Kyle, on that. Thinking about you, so you had a little bit of college. So you had life after high school and college. It sounds like you went straight, plus the time you had to wait was pretty quick. But, what did that time in college, do you think, did for you as you went in the military and now have served a full length time, a full career in the military?
That's a great question, Bryce. I think I graduated high school when I was 17, so I think that time in college definitely gave me the time that I needed to mature and be able to deal with the difficulties that I was faced with going through the pipeline, and having people yell at you, 6 inches from your face. It gave me a little bit of time to grow. So I'm definitely glad that I did some time in college. And if I had to do it over again, I'd do it the same way.
Awesome. And Kyle, so, I hear that you had to wait that 9 months. Honestly, from the day I stepped foot in the Army recruiter to where I was in basic training was 6 freaking days. So I couldn't imagine having to wait 9 months to do it. Like, do you remember how you felt in that period? Like, most people would have just given up and been like, it's 9 months. But like, what made you hold on to wanting to go in the military?
Yeah, so from the time that I made the decision, I was already committed to doing it. I did the same thing. I went to college for those 9 months, and I was really not enjoying it. So made me even more ready to go when that time came.
That's good answers. Why special operations? When you guys initially joined, did you know that was the path that you wanted to take, or was there just something else that kind of fueled the fire to get where you're at now?
So initially, when I had signed up, I just went to join the Air Force. I didn't really, it wasn't really a specific looking for special operations thing. When they brought it up though, and then I started looking at the job placement and job choices, when they gave me that option to do combat control, it immediately was like, that's what I'm supposed to do. I'm not supposed to load bombs. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but that just wasn't what I was supposed to do. I was going into combat control from day one, and that's what I wanted to do.
Yeah, so I was in the same boat. So like I told you guys before, I knew I wanted to join the military. Initially, I wanted to go I didn't know the difference between all the branches and all the special forces and special tactics and Navy SEALs and all that. So I was like, hey, I want to go be a Navy SEAL. And my dad actually did a lot of research, and he knew a combat controller. So we reached out to him. He's like, hey, what would you recommend for my son? And, they talked for a long period of time. My dad came back to me. He's like, hey, Brandon, you're a grown ass man. You can do what you want to do, but here's my recommendation. He kind of laid everything out for me. And, I went to the recruiter. I went to all the recruiters, but I went to the Air Force recruiter, and, he showed me this high-speed video of these combat controllers and these pararescue men. I was like, all right, my dad's recommending that, I think the videos are really cool. So I was like, I'll give it a shot.
Hell yeah. America. Yeah, I'm gonna pause these questions for a second and just kind of bring up some of the experiences that I had with you guys on a task force and get a little bit more genuine with this, because answering those types of questions, isn't necessarily what Big Sky Bravery stands for. Like our programmatic response to you guys is just based off of love and what goes on and during those days. So I remember I'll start with Kyle. The first time I met him at the airport and he got off, and the Big Sky Bravery has evolved so much now because everybody that comes out knows about it. Whereas when we first started, like with you, Brandon, that was the first time we worked with your unit. Nobody knew it, and Kyle was just in it from the first second. He wanted to get to know everybody. He was super excited to be out there. No hesitation. And I mean, you went full throttle all week skiing at the club. What was it on that? Why were you like that when you first got off that plane, man? Honestly, just like so into everything at once and just you wanted to dive head first.
So I knew a little bit about Big Sky Bravery from other guys who had been and who had actually referred me to go. So I knew what it was for and what it was supposed to do. And I knew it was supposed to decompress, right? And my thing going into it was I'm going to utilize this the way it's supposed to, because if I just sit back and relax and don't, let it out there, then it's not going to be the full potential. So I went at it.
Yeah, and Brandon, you're that very kind of quintessential quiet professional. There's some guys that go off the airplane I'm a little intimidated by at first, and you were definitely one of them. Your tattoo game is just phenomenal, as we all know. I mean, we can see the sleeves right now. Not to knock yours, Kyle, but it's pretty tasty artwork. But you kind of handled, in my opinion, the task force another way. You would definitely get into the conversations, and you loved the scenery, but you were more into the serenity of Montana and the peacefulness of it. Like I knew that if I wanted to spend quality time with you when you were out here, I'd go sit out on the porch and and drink some whiskey and smoke a cigar with you. And throughout the week, we could just see this just tons of loads of pressure off your shoulders. And, it was just such an awesome experience to share with you, man. Why don't you just kind of talk about, some of the highlights of that trip for you in particular?
Yeah, absolutely. Like what stands out in my mind every time I think about that trip is the very first day. So that day we went hiking. We got up on top of some really high peaks and I just sat there and kind of took everything in. But the biggest point that stands out in my mind is when we got to the cabin that night, we'd got into our rooms, kind of unpacked everything. And then you and I took a walk, and we walked. I remember walking through this forest, and we come up to this big, I wouldn't call it a canyon or anything like that, but this big kind of open space, and it was a big gully. And we just sat there, and we didn't say anything to each other, and we didn't need to. It was just the right place, the right time, and man, it was just awesome. It was very, very moving for me, and that is the the main thing that sticks out in my mind. You know, we
I
shared
remember
that
that.
moment. And
I remember
there were no words exchanged, you know, but I felt like emotionally things were exchanged between you and I, and it was very powerful. So
that you know, that's like one of the hard things for me is you know, like when we're, and I've learned it with time. You know, when I first started doing like volunteering for Big Sky Bravery and stuff, and I would sit on a chairlift with somebody, and it would go by like 1 or 2 minutes of silence, I would try to think about strategic things that I can say to you guys. You know, did I ask you about what your family's like? You know, what you guys like to do back home yet? And, you know, try to create conversations. And what you just said is something that I've kind of grown into. You know, where it's okay not to talk, and it's okay just to sit there, and you don't have to do those kind of things, man. And I kind of took that from you after that week too, because that was the first time I really tried to focus on, you know, that kind of opportunity, and it's definitely translated into a lot of different chapters in my life, just from sitting on that hilltop with you and looking over the mountains and stuff, man. That was a really special moment, either if we did trespass or not, who knows, but that's just something we'll have to maybe get a phone call for later. But yeah, that's awesome to share. Bryce, do you have anything about any of those experiences?
Oh yeah. You know, like we always talk about, Josh, I thought Brendan hated me. I don't know, like, cause like
he totally did. And not Brendan hated you, Bryce.
It was so different from the last program. Like the last program, like that I was on, it was, you know, it was full bore from like right the minute we got out of the airplane, you know, and it was totally different and like nice and chill. And I was cooking, and like Brendan, he was just like scoping things out, you know, and just observing. He was just being an eagle swooping around, and I'm like, this guy hasn't said anything, you know. I haven't gotten the laugh of approval yet. I need the laugh of approval, you know. And finally, he opened up, you know, and it turned out to just be an amazing week, as I knew it would be. You know, it's funny now, having done 3 programs, like they all just have this different environment, this different atmosphere. Although, you know, for the most part, I've done the exact same program 3 times in a row with only a few variances. You know, one time we actually made it all the way home without breaking a side-by-side, which is awesome. But they all just have their own vibe and just crew. And like, I'm really lucky because I live near these guys. I live in North Carolina, so I get to see them more if they'd ever, you know, come out of their hovels and come find me. Get off deployments, I should say, more of that. But I'm stoked that I'm here and I get to maintain that physical relationship a little bit more. It's like double whammy, because then I get to come out and volunteer for a program as well. So, you know, like, man, there's too many memories to count through Task Force 16, you know, chaps, like the whole 9. Like we just, yeah, like you had to be there. We had a decent time.
I'm going to kind of turn it a little bit here. This is a question that isn't on our list, but something that I've really thought about lately. And, you know, depending on, it doesn't matter if you're on the left side or the right side of politics. You know, this is America. And the last 4 or 5 days, it's been really troubling as a civilian to watch our country. You know, what's your guys's, it's a 2-part question. Number one, seeing these kind of things that are going on right now, how does that affect you personally? And then the second part of that is professionally. You know, what's going through your mind as a service member who can be called to a deployment, who is going to these terrible areas overseas to keep America safe? And there's no PC stuff either here, guys. I mean, you know, America's going through some turmoil, and I think a lot of civilians, I'm getting texts right now, they're like, yeah, let's ask this. They want to know what you guys think right now about what's going on.
Yeah, it's kind of frustrating. You know, I don't have much social media, so I don't get into a lot of it. I rely on other people to tell me what's going on, but it's kind of frustrating to know what we have done and what we have given for people all about protesting and speaking your mind and your piece. But now it just seems like people are freaking out and just destroying things and being angry and rioting to riot with no cause, which doesn't really make sense based on we have given a lot to a cause, and I would think that other people should do the same.
Very well put.
Yeah, I completely agree with Kyle on that. I don't know. It's kind of tough for me because like we have fought our entire lives to give people the right to express, their feelings and stuff. But when they take it to the extreme and, they start vandalizing stuff that's not theirs, stealing stuff and looting like that, that's kind of where I draw the line. And man, I just wish I could sit in a room with those people and just talk with them for 5 minutes and explain to them what they are doing is wrong and why it's wrong.
Do you guys think it's affecting morale from, military side of it? Guys and gals who are about to go over, guys who are over there, guys and gals that are over there fighting for our country right now. Do you think that it's affected the morale for that?
100%. Yes. 110%. Yeah, I mean, if you look at it, if you try and put your shoes in, or put yourself in a military person's shoes, like they've dedicated their life to the military, essentially, to ensure your freedom and the ability for you to be able to do those types of things. And whenever you take advantage of it, that makes military personnel question why are they doing what they're doing? Is it for the right cause, or is it, do people not even care? You know what I mean? Like, are they just blowing it off and it's not a big deal to them? The problem is, like, a lot of civilians, I don't think they understand the risk, like how much risk is involved with all these deployments and everything for these military personnel. So,
I mean,
yeah, it's frustrating.
Think about, rewind to Vietnam. We are literally living Vietnam right now. When guys were in Vietnam, there was civil uprising going on in America. So it took the complete spotlight off of soldiers going over there in the first place, and then they're hated for being there in anyways, because there is a liberal, that kind of movement and things. And now we're kind of moving in that same direction. Now they're talking about bringing National Guard into the mix and those kind of things. And the unfortunate part is the people that are trying to protest peacefully, because I didn't believe that could exist, but now I do. The people that are trying to get their message across, they're being completely swarmed and overheard by the ones that are creating chaos. And it's unfortunate that it's really cloudy as to where it's coming from. And that's the disheartening part. And I have to assume that it spoils the well even more for you guys too. Because you're like, why the hell am I doing this?
Yeah, that's a good point you made. I saw a article the other day, and it was from protesters, and it was saying that they have no choice but to go to war, meaning go protest and riot. And I was like, war? What do you mean war? You're not at war. You're going to go break shit and steal other people's stuff. That's not war. That's a one-sided, selfish decision, not a war.
Yeah. So how do this is something that now, as a veteran for a long time, of the special operations community that tries to live my Ranger creed every day. What are we supposed to be doing in these kind of things? What are our brothers? But what are we supposed to be doing for our community? Are we supposed to be, condemning it with our words? Are we supposed to be doing, trying to get things with our actions? Like, that's the dilemma, because unfortunately my community is somewhat divided. And it's hard to rally when you get in that position. And it's frustrating because we have a leadership mindset. I know you guys do too. We wouldn't be sitting there. Josh, you're the same way. You wouldn't be in a position. You wouldn't have started what you started if you didn't have this mindset. And I think that's really the kind of hardest pill to swallow, is that, we're wasting an opportunity to rise and be above all of this. And I just hope that we encourage and kind of hold each other accountable to do so. That's a big one for me.
Yeah, agreed. And the biggest thing, like you're saying, Bryce, like we've got, so for military personnel, it's different. Like we've got to approach it without letting emotions get the better of us.
Right.
You know what I mean? So.
This is good. I mean, we started the first one we did, and then we started this one. You know, everyone's it's kind of awkward, you know, and people have to be themselves, and it takes a little time. So that's what I want for these things to be. It doesn't have to just be generic questions and, you know, stuff like that. It's what's going on right now that's affecting the special operations community, and we've heard it, and I've heard it from several other operators. You know, yeah. You know, some of my buddies, I'm on the chat with them in you know, wherever they're at, and you know what they're asking me what the hell is going on in America right now. You know, that shouldn't be what they need to think about or what they worry about. You know, America should always give way more than we take, and unfortunately, there's a large group of people out there who are taking everything. And, you know, the last thing that I'll say about it, and Bryce, you want to chime in after, is hopefully Big Sky Bravery speaks to you guys to the point where it can blur out all this bullshit and all these people that are doing that. And you guys can just try to focus on, you know, the people who love you guys, who are here to support you, you know, the Big Sky Bravery team. It's so much greater than that. There's so many civilians who I guarantee you think about you guys way more than they think about what's going on with the looting and stuff like that. So on the behalf of civilians, you know, I'm not going to apologize for them because some of those people need hell of a lot more than that. But, you know, just remember that there's a lot of people out there that really care about you guys.
Loves you. You know, it's crazy because like we're experiencing right now with Big Sky Bravery. I should be coming to Montana in 2 weeks to run another program, but I'm not because there's a travel ban going on right now. And you know what? That doesn't affect just Big Sky Bravery. That affects so many good nonprofits around the country that have programs for guys that they can go out. There's more places in Montana. There's some Washington. They're all over the place that we get to go and ensure that you guys are getting the best care possible as you exit your career. And all of those trips right now are getting tanked because of coronavirus. Now, probably even more because of all of what's going on. And the ripple effect from that, I don't think people realize the ripple effect that we're going to see from tons of people continuing to improperly transition without the help of these organizations. You know, like this is like emotionally, honestly, like this is crippling to me. Like I looked forward to BSB program. It's something I look forward to just like all of the things that I do with my normal job. And to have to just sit here and be like, well, I can't go because of all of this. Like, it's so disheartening. And I can only imagine other guys, you know, around the program, you know, around the community that had opportunities to do these things and now they're gone. And that's kind of want to lead into the next question for you guys. Brandon, I'll start with you. When you got told about Big Sky Bravery, like, hey, you're going on this trip, like, what was your first reaction? You know, like, how did you kind of feel about it? You know, what were you thinking in your mind about the program? And then like, how did that change as you kind of got there? Because we heard how you had, you know, how much good time you had during the week, but like lead us up to like getting there and then that switch of like, all right, this is all right kind of thing. And then Bren or Kyle, you go after, please.
Yeah, so I'll be honest, man. Like I've been to a couple of like Wounded Warrior get-togethers and stuff like that, and I was kind of hesitant about this the BSB gig. And my biggest concern was like all the other ones that I've experienced, everyone was just sitting there questioning me, like, tell me some more stories. You know, have you killed anyone? Have you been in battle? All this stuff. And a lot of guys don't want to talk about that, you know. And that's what I enjoyed about BSB. Like, it was awesome because it was never asked. Nothing like that was asked. It was, you know, what do you enjoy doing? Like, how's your family? How many girls do you have? Or how many kids do you have? Blah, blah, blah. And it was just nice not to worry about someone, blindsiding you with a question that you're not prepared to answer, or one that you don't want to answer,
Right.
And then on top of that, I just wanted to caveat off your comment a while ago, Josh. Big Sky Bravery, the people there that support BSB, like I know that there are still patriots out there. Like, they are the most patriotic people I've ever met in my life, and it was a breath of fresh air just going to Montana and having everyone you met. They would try and bend over backwards for you and thank you for the service and everything you've done. And it was just awesome, man, because you don't get that everywhere.
Cook you awesome ass food.
Absolutely. Kind of.
Yeah. So I was when I found out I was going, it was pretty short notice. There had a slot had opened up to TF30, and I got to go. So I had about 4 days notice. I knew a little bit about the program, so I was super excited to get that slot short notice and get recommended to go. And then, so like I said, I knew kind of what I was getting into. I knew what the program was about. I didn't know the extent of it. I didn't know the above and beyond that you guys were going to do. And that, for me, it's incredible to think that I was going to go there and it was going to be great. And then it was even better than I was expecting was pretty cool.
And so you went to a winter program, and like you went sledding, you went snowmobiling and all that kind of stuff. Like, what kind of experience did you have doing those kind of things? And like, if you didn't, how like intimidating was that? I've never been on a winter program with BSB. All of mine have been in the summer. So like, what was the winter program like?
Yeah, no, it was awesome. I grew up in Northern California in the snow, but being in the military, I had been to the snow probably maybe once or twice in the last 16, 17 years. So I was a little intimidated when we first started, but it was great to get back out there. Josh actually made me ski for the first 3 days, which was pretty intimidating because I hadn't done it in a long time. And then he made me go down some blacks, which was pretty fun. At the end of it was my best memory was going down blacks on a pair of skis. And then we did some snowmobiling, which was pretty fun. So yeah, overall that winter trip was amazing. I was just saying, because Brandon did a summer spring trip, and I'd like to see Montana other than the snow as well.
Absolutely,
yeah, pretty, but it's funny, kind of the progression of trips. The first trip we got to go, like, it was smooth sailing up to the Spanish Creek pond. And Brendan, you got the taste of the wintry slush mix that we freaking almost died.
Oh.
The program that I led last year, I had a dude freaking roll a horse over, like, and like slow-mo down one of those trails and everything. Like, he was totally fine. Like, it's just, thankfully it was like cushioned and everything. But like the June programs are like this weird mix of summer, winter kind of thing. We didn't even get up to the JSOC Ridge last time because it was all snowed in. Couldn't even get there. Sucked. I was really disappointed.
It's a little tricky. Let's get into some of these Facebook questions. So let's see, Valerie. I think you can touch on executives. Yeah, this is actually a really good question. This is more of a suggestion from her, but we'll turn it into a question. How does Big Sky Bravery affect in either negative or positive? You guys, the one thing I've learned about the special operations community is it's always truthful. So whatever you guys think, answer it. Do you think that Big Sky Bravery has a negative impact or a positive impact on marriages and families?
Yeah, so I'll go first. So for me, for my week, definitely not negative on Big Sky Bravery, right? The only thing that impacted me with the short notice, I left in 4 days, which was, a little unnerving and a little bit taxing on the family. But then, once I was there, it was complete decompression and, kind of relaxing, which I needed because I've been, going at it for a long time. So I think that was good. And then coming home again, it was good because I kind of got away from work, got away from everything for a little while, and then came back pretty refreshed.
Yep, I agree. Man, I needed that trip at that point in time. The home front wasn't the best. I was struggling with some inner demons. Just a bunch of things compiling on top of other things. And when I got back from that trip, man, like, it was just a breath of fresh air. I needed it. I'm not sure where I would be at this point today if I hadn't went on that trip. So, man, BSB, man, potentially saved my life, saved my marriage. So
because it's something I want to go back to. Something. Oh man, that sounded like an echo.
Weird. You're supposed to be the tech nerd over here. Come on.
Yeah, weird. I want to go back because it's something you had said about other programs, and this is not at all to bash any other programs because they all have a purpose, but it is this, as I've learned working in nonprofit, we all have a purpose. We all have this little piece of the puzzle that we're all supposed to be focusing on. And that's the one thing that really connects me with Big Sky Bravery and its purpose. And I love the way that you describe it as this breath of fresh air. And it was for me as well, because there was really no agenda other than to connect and converse as men together on this trip with you guys. Like, there was no plan that we had to go through. There was no surveys that we had to go through or anything like that. And it was just a great time for you and me to get that breath of fresh air. And it's so amazing that we have that opportunity, and you guys have that opportunity as operators, in the community, because sometimes that's just what you need. You just need to step off the treadmill for a minute, take a deep breath, and then freaking get back on that thing and keep running. And I'm really, really excited to hear you say that it was exactly that breath of fresh air, and really nothing more and nothing else needed.
Good. And Brandon, thanks for sharing that, man. And just being so vulnerable to the viewers and stuff. I hope everyone can appreciate that. The number one thing is just, for you specifically, so glad that you got to come out, but you are absolutely worth it, man. Everything and that we can offer, and in life in general, and same with you, Kyle. That's what all you guys, hopefully can get through, and the volunteers get just as much out of it. I go into these things as well, and if anyone ever said, my marriage is perfect, I have some friends like that. I'm like, dude, come on, man, seriously, no. And people think their life's perfect and stuff. And the one thing that I wish more people could get out of Big Sky Bravery and just take into their own homes is just being vulnerable and being honest, and letting other people hear your problems. Because I could come to you, Brandon, with 10 problems right now. In the conversations that we have, you might be able to help me fix one of them or two of them, or maybe none of them. But at least I was able to trust somebody enough to relay those problems back. And, that was one thing that I really enjoyed about getting to know you. All right. So Karen Arnold here. Let's see. She asked a question earlier on too. Let's answer that one. With so many deployments, especially going to the same area often, do you ever get comfortable in your surroundings?
Absolutely. I have gotten lackadaisical before, and it almost cost me my life. But yes, absolutely. And it's tough to maintain, not going down that path, but you just do it day in and day out, and it just becomes
tough to turn it off.
Walking down the street, it's like no big deal, whatever. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's to echo that point, it's funny. So when I get asked that question, I think back to a specific moment, getting off the back of a helicopter with some of the best guys I could ever think of. And we had done it so many times, and I had been back to that same place for 2 years in a row. I remember getting off the helicopter and immediately getting shot at and really not even worrying about it. Like, it wasn't even a big thing, because we had done it so many times and it was just like a routine. And I remember, getting off, and afterwards I was like, I don't even think my heart rate went up. Kind of crazy afterwards to think of. I was like, man, I probably should chill out a little bit.
It's a good answer. Question from Susan. Is there anything Big Sky Bravery could have done that you wish you would have? Something we could have improved upon to make your experience even more, more positive?
So for me, I would say,
More
again, I'm kind of going back here, but that last evening in the cabin when I was on TF-16, prior to that night, like no one had asked me anything. We, didn't ever really talk about the reason that we needed to be there. And that last night, Josh, when you asked us, I think you were like, what was the funnest thing you did? And then I don't remember the second question, but it was something to the point of that caused me to kind of go down this dark road where I kind of explained the reasoning that I needed to be there and how it's helped me and why I appreciated the fact that I was able to come and enjoy everything that BSB has to offer. I would say, man, that might be something you want to do every night, man. Like maybe after every day, you're just like, hey, man, what was the funnest part of the day? And what did Big Sky Bravery provide you today that you'll be able to, remember in 5 years,
I like that.
Good feedback there. Kyle?
Yeah, I mean, so just to hit on Brandon's point, I think we did that a little bit more each night at dinner. We went around the table every night and talked about what we enjoyed, what we did, what we got out of it, and what we could do better the next day. So I think, I don't know if it was on purpose or it just kind of happened with the group of volunteers and then the recipients. But I think we did a pretty good job of every night at dinner going through kind of exactly what you were saying.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, we, you're completely right, Brandon. Like, a lot of the stuff that we did, even though it was our 16th task force, we're trying to figure out how to make it better. And one of the special ops units that we work with, they sent their site team down, and then we've had a lot of conversations kind of right after you guys had left as well. And it was all focused on exactly the feedback you just said, Brandon. Conversation based. What more? The highlights of the day. Is there anything anyone wants to talk about? And this last task force, we actually implemented the night before the farewell ceremony, a question that got some of the deepest responses I've ever been a part of in my life, and definitely in Big Sky Bravery. And it was, what's the worst thing that's going on in your life right now? Is there any way you think you can fix it? And we started to ask those questions earlier and earlier on throughout the week. And you're right, a lot of the guys, like, they'll come to their first task force from the volunteer side of it. They're scared shitless, man. And like, we'll do the pre-program packet. We've gotten a lot better at that, briefing guys up and stuff. But majority of them are so afraid they're not going to answer when you guys, or they have any type of response back to some of the things you guys say. And I just tell them now, you don't have to. As long as you're there, just you plant your feet and stand firm and just shut up. And if you have something that you can relate to and you want to talk about it, then do it. But we're not here to solve the world's problems. We're here to, just be a friend to you guys from the civilian world, show you joy through recreation, and have structured conversations more so now, just based off of, the experiences we learned in the last task forces. So that was a great question from Susan. Bryce, do you want to start answering some of these, or I'm kind of getting...
I think we've answered most of them. Yeah. So which one we got? Let's see. I think the last one was directed at you, Josh, as far as if someone wanted to support BSB or do something similar, what advice would you give them? What's the one thing operators wish the public knew that they needed from us? I think that maybe that's a good question. What do you think the public should know that the special operations community needs? Because we are a different community. We have a different mission. It is a bigger mission. Anybody wants to argue it, whatever, but we have a bigger mission. So what specifically should the public know about us, about what we do?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a kind of a two-part question or two-part answer. Sorry. Number one is just that there's still a war going on. It's the longest active war in American history. People don't know that, man, and they don't know that these guys in their little community that Brandon and Kyle are in are doing a lot of work, man, in these awful places and seeing awful things. Just don't forget about them when you see these, savages looting. You see how bipartisan, like just the toxic relationships that unfortunately is created in the last 10 years in politics in America. These guys are giving us all the right to protest and to live in a free country and to live peacefully in our house. And, just don't forget about them. And I'm a man of faith. I'd say pray for them all the time, their families, everything else. And, the second part of that is, I've answered this question quite a bit, and I say the same thing over and over again. And it's amazing to me, the amount of people who don't follow through on it. I remember Karen, I believe I talked with her. She sent me a Facebook message a while ago, and she ended up sending coins in letters, personal letters to each of the operators. And it lasted throughout that year. It was actually the year, before you came, Brandon. But I tell people the same thing all the time. Write a letter of what you want to tell somebody in special operations community. I will put them in a box, and I will pass them out. During task forces, we can send them, overseas, but I just write a letter to them and get it off your chest of what you want to say. I think that's a huge thing that we can, as civilians, at least it sends a small reminder to them that there's somebody that they've never met that cares about them. They're reading that letter wherever they're at, that they know that, there's people out there that care. So.
And if I can piggyback on that, and correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but just knowing, look at it as we have a powerful weapon as a civilian for you guys. It is an ear to listen to you, to listen, just like you had said, there was no agenda. It was just kind of open, and you were able to kind of be yourself and take that breath of fresh air, and you use the opportunity to lay some of your things on people. And it wasn't met with a bunch of shoulds. It was just met with, man, thanks for sharing that. And sometimes we just need that tactical empathy. But for us, it's different because it isn't this sympathetic nature. It is an empathetic, that sucks. What can I help you do about it? And we need that. We thrive on that accountability. And I think it gets lost sometimes that you guys are meat eaters. You guys are A-type people that directive, and you like being told and like being held accountable. And that's the one thing that we can do is to empower you guys to lead through your transitions and be there to help and hold you accountable through that process.
Yeah. I mean, the only other thing that I would say to that is just be proactive. Be a good citizen, be a good civilian. Like if there's shit on the side of the road, go pick it up. If there's a community that needs help, help them out. If there's something that it just stokes the fire in your heart to do, then go do it. Exercise.
You start the fire in my heart.
Yeah, thank you. But yeah, just be proactive and get after it, man. Yeah, just give way more than you take, and you'd be surprised at how far it takes you. A couple other questions on here. This is actually a really good one. Why should other operators go on these programs?
I'll start out with this one. So both of you guys know jelly. The jelly in Montana is a lot different than the jelly that I knew prior to going on that trip. before that trip, like he was never, I never saw that dude smile prior to that trip. And as soon as we did that first hike, man, and I'm sure you guys saw it as well, like he just lit up, man. And he was just in his element. And BSB was able to bring that out and show him that he doesn't have to be Grumpopotamus 24/7. Like he is a different man now that he's been to BSB. I can tell you that 100%.
So cool to hear.
Yeah, I agree. Knowing Jelly too, that makes total sense. And there's just a lot of us and a lot of operators out there that need these types of things that one don't volunteer for them because their schedules don't really allow it, or they don't take time to do it because they could be doing other things. They could always be going on a trip. I could always be doing this. I could always be doing that. And unless they're given an opportunity and they don't have anything to do at all, they won't go on the trip. So there is plenty of people that need Big Sky Bravery that would benefit from it that won't ever volunteer themselves.
Well, and on top of that, a lot of people don't realize that, you know, they've been running and gunning for so long that they need BSB, you know, and it would be better for them to go to Big Sky Bravery before they hit that point of no return.
You're right. Absolutely
Very
right.
good.
Well, we've been going for about 51 minutes now, Josh. That's getting up there to the hour.
Yep, I got one more question for him. Are there any parting thoughts? And this is one that actually goes out to each of us. So that you guys want to say to the viewers.
So yeah, so my biggest thing, the week up there in the snow, right, skiing and snowmobiling, all that stuff was amazing. But I think the biggest thing that stuck out to me were the volunteers, and they gave up all that stuff for us, which I thought was really cool. I told you, Josh, that like in our communities, I don't meet a whole lot of people that aren't involved in the military, right? I don't have a whole lot of people that aren't in the military or I know through the military, right? And I met 5 guys there that were fully committed to your program that was just for me. Which I when I thought about that, and I was riding the ski lift one day, and they were like, "Yeah, we're volunteering to do this for you." I was like, "Oh, that was pretty cool to me to know that there are still a group and a community out there of people that were committed to us," which was pretty awesome.
Yeah, agreed 100%. Man, after that 5 days at BSB for that initial TF16. 5 days, I felt like we'd known each other for years, you know, and we've hung out multiple times since then. And anytime you're in my neck of the woods or vice versa, man, we've always linked up, and it's awesome to be able to create that type of brotherhood in that short amount of period of time. And another thing was really cool was that last day before we flew out, we actually had lunch with your wife, and I just want to give her props for, you know, allowing you to do this and supporting you 110%, you know, because I know it takes a lot of time away from the family with all these BSB task forces that you put on. So, man, mad respect to her. And, you know, you as well, Bryce, man. I know you put, you know, time and effort and everything into this. And it's humbling, you know, and it's awesome.
Bryce.
Me next. Last parting thoughts, guys. Man, it puts a smile on my face seeing you guys, seeing you smile, because I can tell the Rolodex of memories that are going through your heads right now of your time in BSB, and you're going to be doing it the rest of the night. And like that's what it's about. You know, I've done a lot of these programs, different this way as in that, and as let me see my coin real quick. You know, as it says, man, you only get out of something what you put into it, right there. And we put into this relationship. We continue to put into it. And there's people that I don't stay in contact with from my military that I fought with that we don't, because we are not doing it. And that's what I love. You guys are connected. You guys are close. I'm able to create and continue that physical connection with you guys. Kyle, hopefully meet you in person soon too, because you're a new alumni guy. And that's what it takes. It takes intentional gathering with like-minded people. And it fires me up to be able to continue to build that network, because I'm right here in the back door. And to see on your faces and in your words the impact that it makes, man, I would walk to Montana every year if that's what I had to do to get there. So thank you guys. All right, yours, Josh.
Yeah, my parting thoughts. It's just to Brandon and Kyle, man. I love you guys like brothers. I cannot wait to come back down to North Carolina, to do our little, I'd call it a golf tournament, but it's more of survival out there with Happy Gilmore swings. And, and then what we're going to do, the spouse appreciation dinner again, down in Southern Pines and all that. So, I'm getting a lot of texts right now, and every single one of them, they're popping up on the right side of my screen. It's like, tell these guys we love them, tell them we're proud of them, tell them we love them. And my parting thoughts are, you guys are worth it, and just love you guys, man. And look, really cannot wait to see you guys soon. So thank you for being so vulnerable, and allowing people into your lives through this whole 2020 aspect, and just being honest. And that's what I really taken away from today is honesty. And I think a lot of people are going to wake up with a smile on their face tomorrow and go to bed peacefully at night because of what you guys shared with them. So that's my parting thoughts. And we will do another town hall at some point. I don't know. It's all at the grace of America's finest operators. So thank you all for joining in. Bryce, thanks for setting this up. We are going to upload this to our YouTube channel and then send it out to MailChimp so you can share it with other people tomorrow. And thank you for viewing, and God bless, stay safe, and please don't loot.
America.
Yeah.